Welcome to Interdisciplinary Center for Staff Development. I would like to invite you to listen to the interview with Professor Visente Martinez Tur from University of Valencia in Spain. And the topic of the interview will concern the competence management in the university. The interview will be conducted by Professor Olaf Flak and myself, Barbara Korzusznik.
Our guest today is Professor Visente Martinez Tur, who is a professor at the University of Valencia in Spain. And he is a coordinator of the Erasmus Mundus joint master degree in work, organizational and personal psychology. He has made a substantial contribution to applied psychology and represents all requirements for member at large in the IAAP. For many years, his main research projects concerned their organizations for individuals with intellectual disability, psychology of service, service quality, and customer satisfaction. He has also collected the research findings on third sector and organizational justice and trust. And he had a substantial impact on the important area and practice. Professor Visente, you're welcome to our interview. It's a great pleasure to meet you there. And I would like to ask you the first question about you. What scientific projects are you involved in now? What is your job now?
Well, thank you for letting me participate in this project. And regarding this question, I am now currently involved in different research projects. One of them, the central for me, is a project funded by the Spanish government. Is a project that continue over time, and I have coordinated a number of them dedicated to the study of workers with intellectual disability and how to achieve that these persons have a good work context and they have been incorporated in the labor market in a good way, etc. A second project is related to the investigation of digitalized competencies and how the digitalization process has changed the content of work and the content of jobs around the world, and how this changed the way of working, and how to evaluate this, of the importance of these competencies for people beyond digital competencies, how to adapt this to their different jobs and importance in terms of labor market and health, well-being, etc. Another project is a project related to the contextual factor in Latin America first, and now we are going to start in Africa. Is a project that we call This Works in My Place, and in this project we have an international team within the International Association of Applied Psychology, and the idea is to investigate the contextual factor in these regions in order to explore how the work and organizational psychology can contribute to the development goals of United Nations, but considering the reality of the regions and not the mentality of developed country in Europe or United States. And I participate in other minor projects, but I think that this is the main areas where I am involved.
And what do you think about management by competences as a method of managing the university? Because we are engaged in several initiatives in this area, and we are looking for some patterns, for some advice, and ideal situations when you can find management by competences at the university.
Well, this is a crucial aspect, I think, in the universities. It is important to define the competencies very well and in addition to the concrete and core competencies in each role of the university, it is important to consider that, the definition itself of competencies refer to the contextual elements. Then competencies for me is an effective way of working, but in a context, in a specific context. The problem in the university, or the challenge in the university, is that we have different contexts, different roles, and then performance is different in each context. For example, it's not the same to pay attention to the administrative staff or management of a project than focusing on publishing or teaching or any other area of the university life. Then, because competencies are contextual, then it is important to consider the context in order to manage the competencies in the university well. And this is a challenge, I know, for the universities.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you that you confirmed our assumptions of the project. And please, could you answer the question about competencies which researcher should have in order to receive grants, to have good financing?
Well, I think that in order to achieve this type of helps, I think that there are 3 or 4 elements to be considered in terms of competencies. One of them is the capacity to be sensitive to the problems, the challenges that the institutions and the societies have. In some cases, at least in my country, researchers are more focused on problems based on the discipline. Then they focus on what were the problems of the disciplines. They have an internal view of what is research. I think that in order to achieve a good funding, it's also important to have an external view and to see what are the challenges, what are the strategic areas of institutions, governments, in order to achieve this type of fundings.
Yes.
In addition, yes, I think that an important issue is to write the project very well. Then it is important
Sure.
to send the messages very well, to write the project in an attractive way, to convince the people, the readers, that you have very good knowledge, frontier knowledge about the topic, that you can provide practical implications according to the results that you will achieve. And well, I think this is another element to be considered in order to be successful in this type of projects. Another element, I think, is to have a good team. A good team not only means that you have a good group of professors. For me, it's more important to have a good combination of roles. For example, people who can support advice in terms of methodology, people who can support more in terms of data collection, contact with companies or with the sector involved in the project, people with a more commercial view about the project, etc. Then you have to convince the reader, to the evaluators, that you have a good team, not only in terms of productivity, but also in terms of differentiating different roles to achieve the objective. And of course, network. Then probably in more and more projects, you need people from other universities, from other countries, and then it is necessary that you manage this network and cooperation with other people, coming from other cultural frameworks, training, development, etc. This is a challenge, but it is more and more required from institutions.
Thank you. It's very interesting.
And when you talked about the team building and the roles, I would like to ask you about the trust or trustfulness of the researcher. What are the factors which create that the researcher inspire confidence, that he is trustful? What are the factors?
Yeah, this is a good question, especially for people who coordinate the teams. Well, I think that one important factor is the honesty. You have to be honest and transparent in the information, in the decision making. I think this is very important. Then you have to. I think that one important factor is to achieve that. Well, your decision making is perceived as fair, and well, it's based on rational information, is transparent, consistent, etc. This is an important issue. Of course, there is an important factor, which is competence. Then I think that if you want to achieve the trust of others, you have to be competent. If not, it's very difficult. You cannot, it is very difficult that others trust you if you don't demonstrate that you can be competent in the project or in the research area, etc. An important factor as well is the capacity to distribute the task correctly and to recognize the effort of people very well. I think that this is also another factor of that could facilitate that you also have the trust of people. Then I think that in achieving trust, you have 2 or 3 challenges. One of them is be competent. Second is be honest, transparent, fair in the relationship with your colleagues, in the relationship with the team members, etc. And of course, trying to recognize the effort of people in the team. I think that at least these 3 factors should be considered.
Yes, it is really fragile word that we have to be very careful, and it is not easy to build the confidence and truthfulness. And you are a leader of many projects, Vicente. Could you please remind yourself, when did your adventure of building the competence of the leader of research teams begin? And how the moment when you realized that this is really important to build your competencies as a leader?
Well, I remember very well that I started radically about 20 years ago, because 20 years ago I had the opportunity, more or less, I had the opportunity to ask for a project to the national government here in Spain, and it was an opportunity to lead a team, to coordinate a team of people, young people. And well, then I discovered that the role of leader is totally different from the role of team member. Why? Because, well, I was forced to have a general view of the situation of the different persons. I was, forced to have to distribute the task. And then I learned the difficulties to satisfy the different members, and at the same time to achieve a very good performance and publications, etc. Then I discovered the importance of being a good leader and the difficulties to play this role very well. This was a problem, a challenge for me, a personal challenge. But well, step by step, I discovered that, it is important to play another role and, to delegate other tasks in your colleagues, etc. An example for me, a very good example for me of this change was the methodology issues. When I was a member of a team before starting with this role of leader, for me the methodology is something that I had to implement, to compute, to test, and when I started as leader, this changed. Why? Because my role was different. Since this moment, my role was to be attentive to the progresses in methodology, how to implement this methodology in the project, how to achieve that members learn, develop skills in order to compute this statistical analysis, etc. Then my role changed a lot. This is an example. Then I started 20 years ago. It was a personal challenge, and the more radical change was a change of perspective. Then as team member, you have to focus on a specific task. As a leader, you have to play another role where it is related to searching resources, searching or exploring new possibilities, distributing and tasks, facilitating the learning of people, etc.
Thank you.
So you started 20 years ago, but what kind of competences would you like to develop in the future? What kind of competences would you like to acquire?
Well, this is a very interesting question, and when I thought about this, was also a challenge, a current challenge today. Okay, I think that there is an important challenge for me in the future, in this role, which is related to the values of young people. As you know, the research project and the research area is possible because there is like cooperation between young or junior people and senior people in all the projects. We have senior professors, but we also have young people doing the PhD, etc. In the past, I think that, people was involved because they need, some, let's say, a career and some resources to have an interesting job, but of course, life project, money, etc., etc. Now, my feeling is that more and more young people is more motivated by other elements, other factors related to creativity, personal expression, and they don't feel so much obligated to follow rules or procedures or topics that, you want to implement or you want to investigate. Then for me, it's a challenge. It is a challenge that, we can incorporate these new generations and the values they have in a process that is implemented over time with a trajectory, a past, a tradition, etc. Then for me, it will be a challenge. And when I would like to be attentive to these changes in order to incorporate these people and in order to achieve that they are more motivated to do research. And second, I think the second challenge for me in the future is how to incorporate digital elements, digital advances in the research process. For example, in the data collection, the possibilities that digital technologies provide and will provide in the future, and how to incorporate these, how to analyze this data, etc. For me, it's an important challenge. For example, how to monitor the variables of workers over time continuously. Okay, this is an important input for research. Probably it's not today. It's still in the initial steps, but I think that could be a good challenge in the future. And then we have to be prepared, ready for this. This is another challenge.
Yes. And I am following your line of your thought. And could you tell us what qualities are needed to be a good leader of the team?
Well, I think that we need a lot of qualities in our leaders or in leaders of research. I think that one important quality is persistence. Then you have to be resistant to frustration, in not only in terms of publishing, which is very challenging itself.
Frustrating, also, yes, yeah. Sometimes.
But also in terms of relationship with your team members, relationship with other people, etc. Then this is an important quality. And another quality is passion for research, passion for knowledge, passion for, making progress in our knowledge. If the leader has not passion, it's very difficult that the team members have passion about research. Then I think that this is another quality that the leaders have to show in order to achieve a good team in research, etc. Other qualities, for example, I think it's very important to manage the relations among team members. Then leaders,
conflicts.
Leaders have to manage this like, let's say, like parents, good parents, let's say. Then it's difficult because, you know that, conflicts exist and you have to manage this professionally and try to manage emotions and to make explicit that we need each other within the team in order to achieve good results for everybody. And if we only follow their emotions, this is an important obstacle for everybody, including the focal person that could have the conflict. Then it is important that the leader can manage the conflict, can elaborate and convince people that this is an important question, the management of conflicts, etc. Especially because, as you know, persons are self-biased and they usually are egoistic in the perception of reality, and in the teams it is frequent that some people perceive that they contribute a lot, and then this type of biases exist, and it is important to consider this. Another quality is the capacity to recognize the efforts, recognize the contributions and effort of people. There are more, of course, orientation to quality and productivity in research, but also respect to the person, his life,
yes,
etc. Then this combination should be managed as well, productivity and quality of the publications, but also the personal issues.
Yes, thank you. It's very important.
And considering what you said about this, which factors you can find which create identification of a team member with a purpose of the research project? How can you do that team members can identify with the purpose?
I think there are different ways to achieve this objective. One way is to clarify and communicate very well the importance of the project itself, the content. why this project, why this doctoral thesis, why this paper, why this is important itself. Not in terms of publishing or in terms of career, but in terms of how to achieve to convince the members, the colleagues, that this is important itself. I think that if you achieve that they see the importance of the project or the importance of research, I think that you can achieve this type of identification, identity, etc. Second, I think that it is important that you also manage the impact outside the team. For example, the impact in the newspaper, or the impact in other institutions, etc. This is an important issue itself in order to achieve this type of identification. The capacity to create a good atmosphere, a good social climate within the team, I think it's also important for this objective, this goal. For example, organizing some activities beyond the research activity, other, let's say, social activities, the coffee, or even a dinner with them, etc., in order to achieve that they have a good view of the team, a good view of the project, and identify themselves with the purpose, with the objective of we have. At least this type of elements should be considered. If not, it's very difficult, because identification is only possible because something that you do is important itself, is not only extrinsic, is intrinsically good.
Extrinsic, yeah.
And second, because we are part of a team, and I am member of these teams. I am recognized within these teams. And then not only productivity is good, but also the social elements of the team life.
Yes,
Thank you.
we completely agree with you, Vicente. And now let's consider evaluation, because evaluation of the results of functioning of the members, of team members, is a kind of natural phenomenon at the university. What, according to your opinion, what kind of evaluation leads to the development of the team? And which is good, because not each form of evaluation will produce this development problem. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, I agree. And it's one of the problems that we have in research. Then I can describe what is the evaluation that we have more or less in our team and in our university, of course. But then I can say what I think it's better, what could be improved in this evaluation system. In our team and in Valencia, in the University of Valencia, and in Spain in general, there is a well-established system of evaluation. And this system at the university level and also at the national level by the Spanish government is based on productivity itself. Then, what is important? The number and the quality of the journals where you publish. And well, then a good evaluation is based on, well, how many articles you publish, and, well, what is the quality of the journals where you publish. Then, in principle, it is expected that you publish every year some articles continuously. And second, a number of them should be published in quartile first and second, the best journals in the Web of Science. Then, if not, it's very difficult that you achieve a very good score, and then you have obstacles in your career, and it's very difficult that you can achieve an increase in the salary. And even it's very difficult that you can be a leader of the team, or you can be in a project as a member, etc. Then this is more or less a summary, the evaluation of research.
Yeah.
The problem with this evaluation is that, competencies are not directly considered, the process, okay? Then you know that a lot of articles never have an impact on other researchers or in other parts, institutions, societies, etc. Then I think that one important problem is that this type of evaluation focused on scores, high number and quality of journals, etc., should be combined with a more qualitative process. In this qualitative process, I think that, the performance of people, the behavior, the impact, the social impact of the research could be explored and considered. And at least in Spain, this is not considered. Okay, they don't consider this, at least in terms of salary, career, etc. And they focus on publications only, top level publications, etc. Then this is a problem because you can publish a lot, but without any social impact. Yeah. It's possible then, or you can have a very good impact and never publish in this type of journals. Well, I think they are related, okay? And probably you publish in good journal, you will have an impact. But I think that it's good that also the qualitative element could be considered in the evaluation.
Evaluation, yes. Thank you.
When we talk about the competences, I would like to ask you point your, for example, 3 main competences which let you lead the team. What do you think? Which competences of yours are the most important, and they will give you the success in leading?
Well, it's difficult to talk about myself, but okay. I think I understand your question. Okay, well, I think that one important competence is to achieve funding resources. And this is an important competence, because if not, it's very difficult to maintain a team. Then an important part of my task is to be attentive to resources and try to achieve them for my colleagues, my team members. And this is an important issue. And then one important question related with the resources is the distribution of these resources. It is important to recognize the people in a fair way, correct way, considering the contribution they have, and also the effort, etc., in order to distribute the resources. But this is always a delicate issue. One important example for me is the authorship. How to decide the authors, the order of the authors in a paper, etc. Because in complex projects, research projects, different people participate over time. Then it's very difficult to decide, okay, for this paper, based on this data collection, this design, where these people participated and these others, how to decide which is the correct order of authors, etc. Then this is an example of how to distribute resources, because this is the most important outcome, is the publications, because according to the publications, your salary, your career could change or could be stopped. Then for me, this is an important element. Another competence I think I try to develop and to implement is, the stimulation of the career of people. I am totally aware that this is an important issue. Then you have to stimulate, even challenge people. You can achieve it. You can achieve the promotion. Then in order to do that, please, and I help them, and I try to revise the documents and the criteria for the evaluation in the promotions, etc., in the career. Okay, and I am totally convinced that this is an important competence. If not, I think that the team cannot work. Then this is an important competence. Another competence that also important for me is how to manage the boundaries between your team and other possible activities. I am totally aware that team members, my colleagues, this team and our projects are central for all of us, but we have other possible initiatives, outside the teams, and each member can have other possible initiatives. Then, for me, it's good, no problem. And I think that this is a way to achieve that this project and this team is interesting for them, because they are free to participate also as well in other activities, in other projects, etc. Then I think that this is another competence that I think I developed and I implemented. And of course, the distribution of tasks is important. Then having the right mix of competencies of members, it's very important. Then I always try to have people who combine, who have complementary competencies in order to achieve our results. For example, some persons who are more dedicated to the methodology, other person who is more dedicated to the, data collection, contact with the companies, etc., commercial attitude, being the frontier of knowledge in the different topics, etc. And of course, trying to have a good social climate. I don't have time for being excellent on this, but I have to organize something, each year in order to facilitate that, at least we have an informal contact, etc. And, I think that maybe there are other aspects, but, this is some, of course, orientation to results. We have to publish every year a number of articles, and this is a must. Okay? But, this for me is an assumption.
Thank you very much for these great ideas and pieces of advice.
And next question is about your expertise. I know you as an expert of contextual meaning, of contextual factors which influence human behavior, workers' behavior. Could you tell us what, according to your opinion, what external factors enhance the team competencies?
Well, good question. Well, in Spain there is an important factor, external factor outside the university, which is very, very important for the career of people. When this policy was implemented by the Spanish government outside the University of Valencia, I think it was created 35 years ago. It was a radical change in the productivity and the quality of publication of researchers in general, including the researchers in my university, in my department, my team, etc. This was the change in the reward system by the Spanish government. This is a contextual factor which was very important. Why? Because they evaluate the performance of each researcher, and according to the evaluation, they have the salary of the person, the possibility to promote, the accreditation for promotion, the possibility to be supervisor in doctoral thesis, the possibility to request, to ask for project, etc., could be possible or not. Then, and the salary is an important increase in the salary, okay? And especially if you have successive positive evaluation over time. Then you consolidate an increase in the salary over time, which is very, very important. But in addition, other elements about career, promotions, etc., etc. Then this is a contextual factor that has had an influence on how people evolved over time in developing competencies on research, in achieving better publications, in achieving better results, etc. Of course, there is another important factor in the context, which is the existence of institutions dedicated to support the research. We have, of course, the European framework, but in Spain, this contextual factor is also present in the calls of the national government and the regional government in the countries, etc. Then it is very important as contextual factor. And third, I think that more and more companies and sectors, at least in Spain, are interested in our research. And this is a contextual factor which is very important because they are open to our research. Then we can achieve good data from people who is working in companies, not the sample is not composed of students, etc. Then this is another factor which is very important. Then for me, having a reward system, external reward system, very strict, because this is very strict. Only a percentage of researchers submit their curriculum for evaluation, and from this percentage, only a part of them achieve a positive result. This is an important issue of the context. Second, the institutions supporting these public institutions. And third, the possibility to have contacts with companies, organizations, in order to establish research contracts. For example, today, I am coordinator of a specific contract with 3 years, in a period of 3 years, for customized employment for a company in order to incorporate people with disability. This is another contract, but this is a way to achieve money for your team, for resources for your team, etc. Then this type of contextual factors are very important. But of course, how to manage it, okay? For example, I stimulate to my team members to submit the curriculum for evaluation because I think it's important to maintain the activity. And today I achieved that everybody in the core of the team have a good evaluation and they are on board. Okay? Then this is the three main external factors which are important. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And you said that high education system in Spain rewards mostly the results of research work, for example, publications. But what about your university? Does your university have any assessment systems of competences? Which competences are prized or rewarded by your university?
Well, at the university level, we have in Valencia. we distinguish, or the university distinguishes between two types of competencies in terms of evaluation. First, competencies related to teaching and management. Okay, for example, coordinating a master or a program, etc., or a specific course in a bachelor, etc. Then this type of competencies, they have a quantitative process of evaluation each year, and there is a qualitative process, and then each person receives a report which is quantitative and qualitative. The qualitative report is very important because you receive a report about the opinion of your students about you. And this has implications each year because you accumulate these evaluations over time, and in a period of 5 years, each 5 years period, the process of evaluation is evaluated again as a whole. And according to this, you can achieve or not an accreditation, an external accreditation by the government, or according to this, you can have a small increase in the salary, etc. The increase in the salary is more or less achieved by everybody in teaching and management, etc. This is small and achieved in general by everybody. But this has an influence on accreditation processes, promotions, etc., because this is the qualitative information is considered by the external bodies, the external government, etc. This is positive on the one hand, but also negative because, well, as you know, the evaluation of students in terms of competencies of teachers, for example, is not totally bad. Okay. Then we have a second type of competencies, which are the research competencies. In this case, in the university, they focus on quantitative and quantity and quality of publications only. Okay. Then you receive a score each year. This is a ratio. And this ratio is compared or show the comparison with the performance of the researchers in your department. Then you have to achieve that over time. Most of the years, you are above, you are better than the average. If not, you will have problems in order to supervise doctoral thesis or in order to achieve other resources, etc. This is a quantitative evaluation that they implement, and of course, they also analyze and prepare reports where they aggregate the productivity of people, researchers at the university level, etc., etc. But each individual receives a score, okay? Yes. The score is a ratio. Then you can be better than average or worse than average.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was our last question, Visente. Professor Visente Martinez Tur, thank you very much for your interesting answers to our questions. They were very inspiring, and thank you also for the tips you gave us to improve our competence management in our universities. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for this possibility to participate in this project, and I wish that you have a good results and good project in this area.
Thank you very much.